gives a fuck about makeup? Worry about how we are losing our lives in the street like savages. We act like barbarians. We act like we don't care about our fellow man. And we're talking about Black History Month. We're talking about how we are going to be accepted instead of being accepted as Black Americans, it's just being accepted as Americans. That's what we need to worry about. I don't give a fuck about makeup. I don't care about all this little minute shit that doesn't mean anything. This is the same people that complain about systemic racism and don't actually fight systemic racism. This is what we need to focus on. Black people need to wise up. Stop worrying about crumbs. Worry about how we're going to make this bread. And it's sad because every time y'all come up here, I hear, "Oh well, they're not going to let us play this part. I'm not going to get this job because I'm Black, or my last name is or my name is an ethnic name, and I'm not going to get a job." Bullshit. Our life is struggle. Everybody has struggles and obstacles. You have to overcome them. Don't complain about them, because a person that complains about struggles is a weakling. A strong person is somebody who sees an obstacle and sees how I'm going to destroy that. Stop living your lives like a coward. I swear, the version of Black people I hear today is not the version of Black people I grew up with. Real recognize real, and you motherfuckers don't look familiar. Every day I hear y'all complaining about the dumbest shit. Just shut up. Work harder. If you ain't making this because you're not working hard enough.
He just dropped a goddamn Riley Freeman bar.
Yo, could I respond to that?
Wait, one second. This is the thing.
Hold on. Host. Misha, go ahead.
That's the problem when people take one sentence and lump all Black people together like you just did. I actually did start a nonprofit that primarily focused on Black literacy, cleaning up our communities, all these things. You can actively go look at my page. I'm not active on it now because I'm
what's your page?
Black Chester Uplifting Program is on Instagram. And
but it's a nonprofit. You don't have a website?
Yes, nonprofit. Yeah, right.
You don't have a website though?
Yes. No.
Yeah,
I'm not active right now. I'm pursuing school, but we had a cleanup initiative.
It's big nothing burger. You've done nothing.
Well, first of all, you don't have to have a website to start an initiative. You don't. You can start with Facebook. You can start with Instagram. You can start with Twitter, and you can start word of mouth in your own community.
Yeah, you actually have to start there before you can even get people to
back. Not really. I have 5 self-businesses.
That's
and I make tons of money that I'm going to make profit and make other sources and sites. You don't have to start on a big site just to pay for to be shown off. You start from the bottom.
Right.
Misha, but see, that's the problem I have right there. You said something that is the reason why I said what I said, and you just doubled down on what I just said. You said you started a nonprofit about Black illiteracy, right?
No, I said I started a nonprofit in a Black community. I focus primarily on that focus on literacy, financial literacy, cleanup initiatives.
You said Black literacy the first time. Don't do that.
Oh, I'm
Be
sorry.
honest with what you
if I
said.
said that, then my words are jumbled. But I literally.
Okay, because I was gonna say I don't care about Black literacy.
Yeah, when you look on the page, you're going to see it says financial literacy. You're going to see that it says the cleanup initiative. You're going to see what it says. So it's just an uplifting program. You can look it up now. But what I'm saying is like. We can speak about both. We can also talk about fixing our communities, and we can also amongst ourselves discuss things that we're encountering that are challenges and how to overcome them. It's almost like y'all just want to say, put your head down, get beat up, and just pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And it's like, yeah, I'm all pull yourself up by the bootstraps for sure. I'm with you on that, but it has to. We still have to recognize what obstacles we're facing, so we know how to overcome them. Y'all
obstacles are we facing? Let's go ahead and talk about it. Hold on.
I really want to say something.
What obstacles are we facing?
Ayana haven't been able to
can Ayana just say something right quick before you jump into that conversation? Just for 2 seconds. Go ahead, Ayana.
Go ahead, Sean.
So something that I've noticed up here is I don't think anybody up here has said anything along the lines of we don't face any obstacles. What we're saying is 80% of the issues within our lives we have control over. And it just so happens that a lot of those complaints that we hear are things that we have control over. We hear about medical disparities. We hear about all of these things. But then when you dive deep and you open and unfold it and all of those things, we realize that that's actually some stuff we can control to get better results if we really wanted those results. The problem is that when you have Black people like myself or Black people like Snacks who are offering reasonable solutions to these things, we're called coons. We're told we don't have the same experience. We're told that we're trying to be in close proximity to whiteness. We're told we're racist apologists. We're told all kinds of things every day. So I feel like if we're going to have this conversation and we're going to talk about solutions, we're going to talk about those kind of things, then we have to be honest as well, because I feel like we're walking over that huge barrier that 80% of the issues that Black people face are absolutely things that Black people can avoid.
Wait,
we can avoid.
Can I respond to that?
Go ahead, Key.
All right, so I also want to respond to like what Snack said earlier about like how Black people or African Americans overcome struggle. It's like, yeah, that's true, but there are systems that are like you dismissed the ethnic name study, but that is a real thing. If you have an ethnic background, an institution will be less likely to hire you.
True.
That is true.
Doesn't always mean Black.
Yeah, but
So
if you have like a name that is not typical in white society.
I've never seen an unemployed African. Have you ever seen their names? Stop it.
Well, Africans are different groups than African Americans. They come over with
names
like
are
highly
still
wealthy.
Ethnic. They still have ethnic names.
Yeah, they also have different qualities that African Americans don't have. Like they come in highly educated with degrees. African Americans are statistically less educated.
They do what? See, this is what bothers me, right?
Maybe the fact that they're less educated means that they're less likely to get the job, Kay.
Yeah, but African Americans had a specific history when they were allowed to be educated.
But we're not in that history now.
Yeah, but the effect of the past, like it affects the present. If your grandparents never like went to college, it's less likely that you're going to go to college.
Right, it's less likely.
Yeah, and
unless you
Asians
want
weren't
to change
treated well
something.
here either, but now they're like the highest earners, even more than white tea people. So how did they get out of it? But
you said Asians?
Yeah.
No, Asians are also come from highly educated backgrounds. Like we literally picked them from schools.
Well, because culturally, that's.
But like they were treated poorly, in their history, like internment camps and stuff.
And also
these are
acknowledge the
different
culture,
groups. When you're saying they were internment camps, they also got reparations from those internment camps.
They were basically
as well as the cultural influence within the Asian community. There is a high expectation for academic success in the Asian community.
Yeah, that could be true, but also
it is true. It's not if it's true.
I mean, just like poor white people get out of poverty.
I'm agreeing with you. That's
hey,
true.
wait. Can we get KJ? Because I heard KJ wanted to jump in for a second, and I feel bad, bro.
We can say that Asians are highly educated and also see the history of African Americans and see they didn't get.
I mean, you guys just need to be advocating for higher education and hard work ethic. Good paying jobs. Nothing's holding you back. The only thing holding you back is
modern
your
African
mindset,
Americans
and your mindset
aren't as held back,
brother.
There's still a history there.
It can be the history, but at what point does history stop dictating what you're going to do?
Yeah,
I understand the history of my past. I understand the egregious acts taken against my people. I understand the systems that were put in place to keep my people held back, to keep my people at the bottom of the totem pole, and still in face of that, and still in light of that history, I decided I wanted to do something different.
Yeah,
I don't think what I'm trying to understand, what I think in today's society, biggest issue is we need a cultural revamping. That mentality right there isn't something that I see super duper highlighted within the culture.
I agree that like you shouldn't let history affect you, but like these are systems. Like you can see like statistically, like on average, African Americans are responding to the history that they're going through. Like you're asking people to do like exceptional things, which I like. You can advocate that individually, but like on average,
that's why it needs to be embedded culturally. That's why it needs to be embedded culturally. Again, that's why we need a Black American?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And how old are you?
25.
Okay. All right. So you're a little bit in the younger demographic, but what I would just want to say to you is, so for me as a conservative and a Republican who voted twice for our current administration, I understand our history. I understand where my ancestors come from, not 100% because I never did an ancestry test. But what I'm trying to say is, at some point, when is our community going to get to a point where we say this has happened already? What are we going to do as a unit and move forward so that we can be one of those groups of people who have our own communities, who have our own drugstores, who have our own grocery stores, who have our own, like, you can walk anywhere in my state in Connecticut and you're going to see a whole bunch of, and no disrespect, I know this is not the conversation, but you're going to see a whole lot of immigrant shops, whether it's laundromats. It's just so much. I can't even name all of them. But
I would say that, like, obviously, like, you shouldn't just, like, stay in, like, this pit of despair, like, woe is me, I won't be able to do anything. But, like, there is a reason why these communities are like this. And, like, just saying, oh, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, it's not gonna do, like, a systemic change to a group of people.
That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, if you have what I'm saying, I can't speak for the other panelists, but what I'm saying is, I actively am involved in my community at 31 years old. I'm a millennial, and I feel like encourage your youth to work hard so they can achieve what they want. I've at this point, I'm not saying that there isn't systemic racism or like interpersonal racism with people, or that Black people, that we don't face discrimination. But what I'm saying, it, in my opinion, the way that I live my life, and I live in a blue state, I haven't really experienced it too much to be saying that my everyday life is affected by systemic racism.
I just want to respond to you just real quick, Kim. So I just want to respond to your point about the study. Just real quick. This is an updated analysis on exactly what you're talking about. Updated analysis of race and gender effects when it comes to applicants. This was the largest test study group that they did when it came to these type of studies. They also incorporated and included Hispanic Americans, and they actually went off a metric that's much more realistic to be able to like see the impact of this by looking at last names, right? So predominantly, right, if we look at last names, we have predominant levels of populations like 90 to 95% that are going to have specific last names that are going to give you that understanding that they're going to be of this specific demographic, right? So, for example, like Gomez, Rodriguez, this is like 99% or 95% that these individuals are going to be of Hispanic origin, right? When we look at last names such as Jefferson and Johnson, these are overwhelmingly about 90% that they're going to belong to individuals that are Black Americans, right? And then if we look at other last names such as like Thompson, Smith, these are more likely that they're going to be of like white demographics. So they took these three categories of very common last names and they actually reran the study, and they found that there was no discrimination when it came to race or gender on applications. And if there was any kind of discrimination where there was even any kind of a difference, like statistically significant, it was in gender, and it was because women are going to be more likely to be hired and accepted for specific positions when it comes to clerical work, right? In other words, any kind of form of office job, women are typically going to be the more preferred because of the fact that, one, customer facing for like receptionists and things like that, individuals that are answering phones, you're going to want a female voice because it's going to make individuals feel more comfortable to do business, right? But when it comes to race, there's not a discrimination factor that comes into it. This was one of the most objective metrics that they used to be able to try to effectively reinvigorate or reinstill this conclusion that a lot of these other studies have done. But what they found was they were running off of first names, and as we know, first names, specifically if you want to go like the most ethnic first name that would be had by an individual that is Black, are going to be less likely or less common names. So it doesn't actually give us a good metric in to be able to understand if that discrimination is happening based on the racial demographic.
Why is that not a good indication?
Yeah. So when you think about specific, one small sample size, right? Yeah. So one small sample size that isn't going to be able to speak for the whole. He is right with that. Two, right? When you have more uncommon first names or things of that nature, then it's going to be the case, right, that a company could simply just not want to hire that individual because of the fact that they do not feel that that individual's like name or like whatever that would be placed behind the work is going to be as professional sounding as they would want it to be, right?
Yeah, it's not discrimination.
And that's totally fine. And that's wait. Well, if you're just saying, well, but then you get into the weeds here, because if that's just what you're describing discrimination of,
yeah.
If that's if that's just what you're describing,
like if I'm in a very
talking about, can I ask questions?
real quick.
No. I know, Key. I'm trying to.
I'll give an example.
Wait, no, hold on. I'm in the middle of a dialogue.
One mic.
I'm in the middle of a dialogue with Key. He asked a question. Thank you. Appreciate it. Key, you said, wouldn't that be discrimination, right? Well, if that's where you get lost in the weeds. If that's what you mean by discrimination, then that means that any other metric that a job is going to use to be able to determine whether an individual is going to be like professional enough or presented in a professional manner to be able to get the job, then you would just call that discrimination. But obviously there's specific guidelines and like recognition that we're going to have when it comes to specifically office or clerical jobs that they're going to have in place. Like I can't show up to a job interview in like my true religion sweatpants, right, and like a wife beater on, and expect to go and get a job in an office. But why the hell would you assume
that's how they gonna come into interviews?
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. See, that's not even what I said.
Okay,
that's not even what I said. I'm saying in general. I'm saying in general there are specific. Correct. I'm not saying that I believe Black people would do this. I'm saying as I'm literally right now on a Sunday afternoon wearing true religion sweatpants. So I look down and I just use it as an example, right? There's a way that I would present myself who specifically meet that criteria, right? So I'm just saying that if that's what we call discrimination, then it just seems that we're blurring the lines here. Because if that's what we call discrimination, then we acknowledge that discrimination is going to happen and it would be fine.
Yeah, but my problem is that like I haven't looked at this study. I this is like the first time I'm seeing it, but like my problem is like if you start doing this thing when you're like, oh, this name is just not professional. That is an evaluation, and that is an evaluation from white culture. It's like it's not usual in white culture.
Not necessarily. It doesn't have to be like rooted in white culture. It can just simply be rooted in the fact that like for example, I personally don't believe that all of the managers of companies, right, or like business positions are going to be of white people, right? It's going to depend on your area, the demographics of the population, et cetera, et cetera. So no, right? But I do recognize that the same kind of guidelines for how a company is going to want to be presenting themselves and their employees are going to want them to be presented is going to be pretty much a metric rule that's going to be found across the board because it's what we call corporate America. Corporate America has different standards than non-corporate America.
Yeah, but again, like when you say, I will look at this study after it because I don't know, like you guys mentioned like the sample size, but when you're saying like first names or like can be professional, like I can't hear that other than like we evaluate these people who have these names as unprofessional, and I just like how's that not discriminating? If like a large group of people have that name.
You are not going to get turned down for a job because your name is Leviticus. Stop the bullshit.
Wait, but that's exactly
I mean, you can just like scream and rage, but there are studies we can look at this. Like he has a study here. I'll read that later and see if it's like valid. So
and again, but again, the whole point is that your claim is that you're getting turned down for a job, right, because of your race being tied to the name. Right, but what Snacks is saying is true. It's not, or my bad. What Snacks is saying actually is my point, right? Where it's because the name, it's not because of the race that's tied to it. Because if it was the race that was tied to it, when we have a better metric to be able to actually encapsulate predominant racial demographics based on last name, and when we have the exact same application filled out, only thing that's different is the name that's on the application based on predominant racial last names: Gomez, Rodriguez, right, Johnson, Jefferson, right, and then Thompson and Smith. Yes, maybe you missed it. Maybe you missed the part where I said all three demographics, Hispanic, Black, and white, are taken into consideration in this study that's done. So they use Gomez, Rodriguez. They use Jefferson and Johnson for individuals that are Black because that's a predominantly held last name that would be to the Black population, right? And then for white people, Thompson and Smith, right? And they did this study with the same application, the same work history. Only thing that's different is the name of the individuals that are on the application, and it's based on last name, is where you would have that racial difference. And they found no discrimination. They found no discrimination between the applicants.
Mikey, hold on a second though. But I don't understand one part of that study, because white people and Black people basically have the same last names. Black people be named Smith and Jefferson too.
Yeah,
Black people and white people have the same last name, so I don't know that
we mean
even proves your point
predominance.
even more. Like
Right,
what I'm
but
saying, that
what we
proves
mean
your
by
point
that.
even more. Yeah.
Yeah, we just mean like predominantly held. I agree with you, right? That black people, obviously, I'm not saying no black people have the last name
But the
Smith. We just mean
predominant,
that when we look at who predominantly is going to have these last names based on racial demographic, that's where we're able to drill in, right? Like Gomez Rodriguez. There are white people that can have a last name such as like Rodriguez because they have like distinctual Spanish lineage, but they're majority Anglo-Saxon. These things can happen. Right. But that still, again, a predominance is what gives us a better scope of actually looking if there is specific discrimination based on racial demographics. And we don't see that to be the case when it comes to the applicants.
but last name is not a racial thing. It's more like the fact that you're saying that like the names can be coexistent with like your race, but at the same time you're saying a predominant amount
He didn't say that it
last
could be
names.
He didn't say that it could be coexistent with your race. He's saying that it just so happens that predominantly majority of the races that apply have these last names.
No, wait,
Mimi,
I just want to finish
you don't listen
asking
for
Snacks.
nothing. Mimi,
because you keep interrupting
you don't
me,
pay
babe.
attention. No, I don't keep interrupting. I've been silent most of the time. I just say two things. But what I'm saying is I noticed something. Whenever people's talking, you're not actually listening because you ask the most idiotic questions like you're not paying attention.
Cool. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way.
All right, so
it's true.
As I was saying,
can I say something? Hold on,
if
Mike.
I could finish.
I'm going to go after you, ma'am. Go on, speak, young lady. I'll speak after you.
No. Well, it'll be really quick. The point that I was trying to make was when host who was just speaking stated that a lot of times after Snacks mentioned that sometimes black people can have very similar names at a higher volume, similar to white people. And then he responded with, and then please guys correct me if I'm wrong or if I misheard.
No, that wasn't what Snacks said. That was wrong. Right there. He just said that black people can have the same last name. And I said yes, but a predominant. So when we're looking at who's more likely, who has a higher rate of having said last name based on racial demographics, that's the point. Not saying that black people can't have the last name Thompson.
It's cultural.
It is though. Like this would be an insane statement to make, to say that you cannot tell somebody's ethnic lineage, which is going to give you an insight to their racial phenotypical demographic, because phenotypes are based on your genetic code that are going to be prevalent in your ethnicity. Of course we can look at last name. Like, of course we can.
May I give you an example of why I'm kind of like disputing what you're saying? I just moved from probation from youth to adult, and I met a coworker. His name is Jamarcus. And do you want to know what I thought I was going to see when I walked up into my first day? A man who looked like me. He was Irish, red hair, freckles. And that's just like an example of kind of like things that
exceptions don't take away from the rule. Exceptions don't take away from the rule, though. That's the whole purpose of the word predominant. Dominant does not mean 1-to-1 every single time. It just means that a super majority.
So
pointing out outliers doesn't take away from it.
No, definitely. I agree with you. And I'm just trying to be that voice of a person who've encountered like anomalies when it comes to like names, not necessarily. Like if I say to you the last name Thames, what would you think like culturally or race, as you were saying? Like, would you think that kind of like belongs to like a white person, black person?
I think it could belong to either a white or black person.
Right, and that's the only point. I'm not arguing.
But that's why we're not right. But that's why they're not using last names that have a 50-50 share here.
Yes,
they're taking last names that have a 90 to 95% share. Right, like I said, Gomez, Rodriguez, like 95%.
Your name's Mikey, right?
EK did want to go. Yeah.
Oh, okay, go.
Yeah, I've been real patient. So, first of all, I don't even think this. I don't know why we spend so much time on it. It's not an issue. How often do you have a lady named Shanae trying to get an executive assistant job in a Fortune? It doesn't happen. It's not a big deal. It's a nothing burger. She's probably going to be applying to work at a gym or something like that.
Why? Why do you assume that?
Because it's not an issue, and even if it is,
why would she be working at a gym?
Because someone with the name Shanae is probably not coming from a background that she has an Ivy League education. Let's be real, Key. Let's be real.
Why is that? Why wouldn't she have an Ivy League education?
Well, let's look up the statistics.
Both my parents are judges, and I have a sister by the name of Mercedes.
Okay, again, that's more of an outlier. Again, it's what we're just saying. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's never going to happen with 40 plus million Black Americans. Of course, there will be.
I'm back.
But by and large, it's a very small percentage of parents who are professionals, doctors and lawyers that name their kids Mercedes. And that's no disrespect to you, ma'am. It's just a fact.
Of course.
Would you agree with that?
No, I agree. It could be. I agree.
Just saying, I just called my dad a burnt chalupa, and then they called me cinnamon. Amen. This is wild.
But guys,
and he's black. Don't sit there and yell.
Get racist with the OGs. Okay, really quick. Before we continue, keep tapping the screen. 74 people in here. I still ain't at 40K. If we're not at 40K in the next 7 minutes, I'm putting the timer up on Ayana right now. I'm turning the comments off. And so please let's get those like count up. See if we can get some more people in the request box. I see a couple of people in there right now. So whenever we get some drops, I'll bring y'all up. Also, going back to the conversation, quick question: do y'all genuinely believe that any corporation is hiring a white motherfucker named Billy Bob Joe?
I would say that's also discrimination. They shouldn't do that. If you have the skills, you should be hired.
No.
Over a John Thomas or a Charles Wilson. Are we so dead ass right now?
No,
exactly.
I agree.
Yeah, but
exactly.
I would disagree with that too. I wouldn't say
about?
that's good. I would say you shouldn't do that.
I'm wondering. I'm actually.
Ain't nobody named Billy Bob Joe getting hired over a Charles Wilson, bro. What are we?
Yeah, I say that
about?
if the Billy Bob Joe is more qualified, he should get hired. That's what I would say.
I agree, but he better come up with a more professional name than Billy Bob fucking Joe.
You shouldn't have to change your name if you have the skills.
Okay, that key. But that kind of, I like that you said that, because what a lot of Black folks need to realize that not getting a job is not because of your skin color. I'm not saying any of y'all said that, but I'm just saying it has to do with the qualification and if you meet the standards of that job. Because how many Black folks do I hear a day cry? Well, we don't get a lot. We don't get all this thing, but just because we're Black. Because of our color. Because of what we look like. No, it's the qualifications.
Yeah, but like with these studies, I will look into the study at the was it Mikey? I'll look into that. But these studies are like they check resumes. So say you have the same skills, and we compare the names, and the Black name will be picked less often. I don't know if the study.
But that's what my study refutes.
Yeah. I will look into it, but they
had the largest sample size of any study that you could possibly bring, and they also included the middle demographic of Hispanic that none of your studies did.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen your study. It's like very conflicting. It's like it's contradictory. So I hesitate to say it. I'm just describing.
It's contradictory. I know, but Key, it's contradictory because it has the largest sample size. It's using an actual good metric.
Right.
What was the sample size?
America, by including the Hispanic demographic, which your studies don't show, over 70,000.
Yeah, so I'm saying it's contradictory to like my knowledge. So like I'm saying like I'm retroactively.
You're going off a.
What you say, huh?
But Key, you're going off a study. You're going off a study, and the talking point that you're using is a study that they use fake resumes and fake names to apply to jobs, and a lot of those people didn't get called back because the references were fake. It was a corrupt study from the door. There was no way it was a corrupt study from the door. If you use fake references and fake names of people that don't exist, you're not going to get a job because once you check the references, it's not going to pan out.
Yeah, but the white names are also fake references in the study. So your argument is not good.
No,
why would they get more calls back if they're also fake references other than
all of it? The whole thing was fake. Nobody's getting a job with fake references. Nobody got a job in that sample size that you're talking about. We talked about the study. That study was completely bogus, and it doesn't push no weight as statistically.
Well, the study I'm referring to, if they had the fake references. Like if the whites are still getting picked more, there's like why are they getting picked more even if the references are fake?
Nobody got picked. Oh my God. Listen to me, young brother. Listen to me. I want you to understand this, right? And I'm going to keep it as calm as I can with you, right? This victim mentality that a lot of you young
I'm not saying I'm a victim. I'm just seeing injustice.
You sound like a fucking.
You guys have one mic.
You sound like a victim.
How, bro? I am literally in university.
Listen, see, and that's another thing. That's the reason why you sound like a victim, because you're not going to listen to me first. You're going to just keep running your mouth. Just listen to what I'm saying, right? I don't know if it's because of the age group, but this is the thing. And I'm 47. I know I'm a little older than you, right? But I know one thing. My grandparents and my great-grandparents would love to live in this country with the opportunities that us black people squander now. We act like spoiled children that cry that we didn't get the 10-speed bike that we wanted, but we got a mountain bike and it's just not good enough. We complain about the dumbest shit. We complain about shit that our ancestors would die to have. If our ancestors were alive today and they were in this world right now with all the opportunities we have, and they would have those opportunities, they would call us weak and they would call us cowards, because we have opportunity at our grasp and we don't take it. The fact of the situation is this. If you don't get a job because your name is Jamiroquai, well, guess what? You dodged a bullet. Because why the fuck would you want to work for somebody who's going to discriminate against you because of your name? That means they're racist, and why would you want to work for them anyway? You don't complain about that. You go look for another job. Plain and simple.
Wait, can I respond to that? All right, so like I'm not saying that like black people have it so hard today that it's like we're having like we're the worst generation ever. I say I'm grateful to be in like the spot I am right now, in the place I am right now. But like my problem is that like if there is like an injustice where it's like if you have a weird name, and I'm not saying the people who are picking these names are like racist or hates black people or hates people. They can just see a name like, oh, that seems weird. I can't pronounce it. I'm not gonna pick them. And I'd still be like, that's really bad.
I'd much rather apply in STEM as a black woman than a white man.
Let him land.
All right, so I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I think my problem is that like you guys will justify like picking these names as if it's like, oh, they're weird, but it's like that's my problem. If your name is weird to a culture that was built by white culture, I'd say that's bad. You should be picked by your qualifications.
I think that's Slavansky. I think that Slavansky is a weird last name as well.
When you get really quick. Hey, y'all not gonna get to 40K in 30 seconds, so I'm gonna let it slide. But